A major winter storm is breaking out tonight, and it's going to impact a huge area of the country over the course of the weekend. We're here to give you all the new information that we have on this. We'll cover the central U.S. first and the eastern U.S. next. After that, I think the pattern will remain supportive for winter storm potential, but only for certain areas of the country. And those certain areas, I think, is going to be the south and the extreme east coast. So we'll speak on that a little bit, and we'll get more detailed on that after we can get fully past the storm system we're dealing with right now. My name is Mitch. Good Friday evening. I hope you guys are having a wonderful start to your weekend. Subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please drop it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling tonight. So let's talk about the central U.S. first. The storm is just getting going. The blue is snow, and then some of the pink you see, maybe a freezing rain sleet mix, and then you got the green and some areas in yellow in that. That's just some moderate to heavy rain. So it's currently raining, for example, in like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but a lot of cold air is working south. So that kind of rain, wintry mix snow line is dropping south with it. But the system is just getting going. And by the time we get into the middle of the night tonight, this will be a full on, all-out major winter storm really ongoing. So this is current conditions, current temperatures. I think this is pretty cool. You can see there is an insane temperature gradient across areas of the south central U.S., specifically Texas, and that is this Arctic front dropping down with a lot of moisture overrunning just the boundary itself, which is bringing all that cold air. So, I mean, it's wild, up here in Kansas, it's in the single digits and snowing. It's in the low teens, the single digits in like the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. But you drop down to say, Austin, San Antonio, heck, even San Angelo, the front's about to move in now, but it's in the 60s and 70s, so pretty wild stuff. But let's go on and just talk about the evolution of this storm. And we're going to go over the NAM first, and then I'll take a look at a short-range model called the HRRR model run, or the HRRR model. So I'm not going to look too much on global models. We're just kind of too close to this system. It's ongoing right now, but we're going to start this off around late this evening. So by the time some of you folks are watching this, I mean, this is kind of a now thing, but we will progress this forward. And we start to get into tomorrow morning. And the orange is sleet, the pink is freezing rain, the blue is snow. And you just got a big battleground of winter precipitation going on in northern Texas, southern Oklahoma, right through the heart of Arkansas. And I really think this little finger band right here, this is going to be sort of like a front end thumping of snow and sleet. And I really think that's going to move in and hit like Little Rock into Memphis really hard overnight into tomorrow morning. But this is heavy snow right on top of this. This is very heavy sleet. And of course, we're starting to just get a wintry mix of everything. Now, the big question is, are we going to wake up to really heavy sleet in like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, southern areas of Oklahoma tomorrow morning? Or are we going to wake up to a lot of freezing rain? I think that's something we got to figure out as we go, and it's just kind of a now thing now. That makes sense. But we continue to move forward here, and we start to get into tomorrow afternoon, and this is just a massive winter storm, and it's kind of broken up into two waves. This is sort of the first wave, and it's a little bit disconnected from the second wave, not completely, but you can notice it as I move this forward. But this is tomorrow afternoon. Heavy sleet and snow, I think, is overriding Arkansas. Up into Missouri, I think this is all snow. Kind of a wintry mix between snow and sleet in western Tennessee, and I think this is an ongoing ice storm, crippling ice storm from areas of northern Louisiana through kind of the Delta region of Mississippi here. But you can see that ice rain line kind of starting to drop further south. Houston right here, Corpus Christi, and just the Gulf coastline. But here comes the second wave. It kind of fills in the gap, and we start getting to Sunday morning, and if the NAM is correct, this is just one giant sleet storm from basically like Lubbock, Odessa, Midland, right through Abilene, all the way to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, all the way into Little Rock, and heck, it even remains mainly sleet in like Shreveport. So I've said this multiple times. I think there's going to be areas that are going to go into this thinking they're going to get some type of catastrophic ice storm, but you might be saved by a lot of sleet, and the NAM indicates this really hardcore right here, that there could be a lot of sleet with this. But you continue and you start to move into Sunday midday, and the system finally exits on out, and we're done with it. Now we'll take a look at the latest HRRR model run. We'll have a new one here out, a new long range one out here in about an hour or two. But this is starting off around 9, 10 o'clock, and we progress into the middle of the night, and then we wake up tomorrow morning. And you see the HRRR model run really likes the idea of more so freezing rain, maybe a little mix of sleet here in northern Texas. It keeps the dominant precipitation type, freezing rain, which is in the pink, and you get a solid front end thumping of snow. There's that kind of frontogenesis band, we call it a finger band sometimes in the in kind of the weather community here. But whoever can get just a front end 1 to 2 hour start of snow, and like Little Rock, maybe like Memphis, can get 1 to 2 inches of snow right off the dot. It's just, are you going to start a snow? But we continue to move into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, and I don't think the HRRR model is really showing well where there's going to be a lot of sleet. In fact, down here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I think this could be a lot more sleet than freezing rain. But then again, it might just be mainly freezing rain, but shows a nasty ice storm breaking out across southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, northern areas of Mississippi. It changes the freezing rain in Memphis on this. And then you can see kind of the lull, the kind of break, the lightening up the precipitation here. And then it fills in more so tomorrow night. Here comes your second round. This is heavy snow all the way up to Oklahoma City. But as you notice, the second round isn't getting that far north on this run. But this is a nasty ice storm through the heart of Texas into areas in Louisiana, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee. And we can only go about 48 hours out, and the storm is just beginning to exit the region. But you can see how that rain kind of ice line begins to drop almost all the way to the Gulf coastline here at the end. And I mean, we start to get to some freezing rain as far south as like Lake Charles. Now, a lot of times, these Arctic boundaries out west in the southern plains end up verifying further south than what's modeled. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. So we continue, and I will, look at, we can look at the Euro model run here and look at it too. And I mean, it's not much different, guys. This is getting into tomorrow morning. And I will say the Euro really doesn't dive this freezing rain line as far south, at least with the first band. Then the second band, it really drops it south. But it really likes the idea of a lot of freezing rain in that corridor that you see here. So, all right, so we're going to break down snow and ice totals, and we're going to break it down like section by section, state by state. So, for example, if you live in Texas, just kind of move the icon a little bit, the cursor, and just kind of skip to Texas. But we're really going to get detailed on the snowfall and the ice graphics here. So this is Kansas, and I'm not going to mention every town name and stuff like that, but I'll mention a couple as we go. But Wichita, 6 to 10 inches of snow. Kansas City, it looks like they dropped their totals a little bit, just 5 to 7, but everybody in Kansas, I mean, it's snowing in Kansas right now in the single digits, is going to get accumulating snow. Not expecting any freezing rain here. It's a different story when you get south. This is Oklahoma, 9 to 14 inches of snow forecast in Oklahoma City. We got winter weather already breaking out now. Tulsa, 10 to 15. Ardmore, 3 to 8. When you get down here, some of the snow that's being forecasted is actually sleet. So I do think we're going to get some sleet mixed in southern areas of Oklahoma, no doubt about it. And then we look at the freezing rain totals, and you really got to get to the southern half of the state here. They're starting to get some appreciable freezing rain totals, and Broken Bow can sneak to about 0.2 to 1/4 inch of freezing rain. But then we break down Texas. Texas obviously being a huge state, so we'll break it down section by section. This is the Panhandle. And it also shows the Panhandle of Oklahoma. Amarillo, 5 to 7 inches of snow. Perryton, 4 to 7. Maybe a little bit of freezing rain in this area, but not much at all. And then we switch it a little bit further to the south here and look at the Lubbock area and surrounding regions. And several inches of snow is expected in this area. Now, this is when the ice totals can begin to increase. So we look at the ice forecast, just a few 1/100ths of an inch. Not any crippling ice in this area, but the further south you get, the more it's a big deal. And this is southwest Texas, a few inches of snow and sleet. Remember, this is combining sleet too. Don't think you're going to get, for example, in Lubbock, 4 to 8 inches of straight snow. I think some of this will be sleet, and you do look at the freezing rain totals in this. And I mean, yeah, this is a pretty big freezing rain event in these areas. 2 to 3/10 of an inch of freezing rain. San Angelo going for 4/10 of an inch of freezing rain just about. I mean, that is starting to get into significant major ice storm type stuff. And then we move it a little bit further to the east. There's Abilene, 1 to 2 inches of snow and sleet, and just lighter amounts across this area. But you do look at the freezing rain, and this is where we can have an all-out ice storm. And, pause the screen if I'm moving too fast for you guys. I'm not going to try to mention every single town name here, but trying to get up and close and personal as much as I can. Southern areas, kind of south central Texas. I mean, you got winter storm warnings dipping pretty far south in this area, but your criteria for winter weather, for winter storm warning criteria type winter weather is not very high. I mean, it's like half an inch of snow, a little bit of freezing rain, but could get a dusting of sleet and snow down here, but I think that'll mainly just be sleet. And then here's your freezing rain totals. I mean, San Antonio now up to 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. Austin, maybe 2/10 of an inch. So capital city getting a lot here. Now, I'll take some closer looks here at the Houston area. You guys got some winter weather alerts up into Madisonville, 3/10 of an inch. 3/10 of an inch of freezing rain is forecast. Crockett closer to 4/10. Houston, a few 1/100ths of an inch of freezing rain. So this is definitely going to be enough in this area to put a solid glaze. You don't have to drive too far up the road to start to see ice storm type freezing rain. And then could get a skiff of sleet, maybe a touch of snow, but I really think this is just going to be sleet. And I really wish they would do it. Sorry. I got some new pajamas on right now and haven't worn them in a while, and they're not comfortable at all. But anyways, that's personal stuff. But anyways, the total snow and sleet accumulations is just a few tenths. But like I said, I really wish they would just put snow and sleet, because that's what it is. But then you get into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, a couple inches of snow and sleet in this area. And I really think if you get 2 inches of anything in Dallas, it's going to be sleet. And then, of course, the freezing rain situation in this area is going to be ice storm type stuff. Anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch of freezing rain in this entire area. Once you get closer to the eastern areas, northeastern sections of Texas, this is where you can push 1/2 inch of freezing rain or more. This is definitely going to be just an icing war zone across this region. And then you look at southern areas, Louisiana, the Lake Charles area, but I don't think Lake Charles is going to get much, but you don't have to go very far up Interstate 49 to start to get into 1/4 to 1/2 inch freezing rain totals, which is ice storm type stuff. Alexandria going for over 4/10 of an inch of freezing rain here. I don't expect much sleet or snow in this area. But then you move into the Arklatex area, Texarkana. Listen, it's going to be nasty in this region. You're going to get some of the heaviest precipitation. It's going to be all frozen precipitation. Texarkana going for 1 to 2 inches of just snow or sleet. Same thing for Shreveport pretty much. But this area right here is going to get crippled with an ice storm. Let's do point here. 1/2 an inch. And Shreveport, Monroe, 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain. When you get to 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain, starts to really just you run the risk of really messing up the power grid when you get all these down trees and stuff. But a lot of freezing rain, just a war zone in this area. I mean, it's just prepare, guys. I hope you've made preparations, because the cold air that follows is going to be pretty bad. So if you lose power, it's not going to be good. Now, this is Jackson. Man, Jackson, Mississippi, you're just south of a nasty, nasty ice storm. But as of right now, they're sort of they've bumped it south. Wow, yeah. So Jackson was actually not forecasting any freezing rain. Now they're calling for 3/10 of an inch of freezing rain. So that tells you that the cold air boundary has sagged a little bit south. But listen, I'm telling you, if you look at Jackson up to Philadelphia to Columbus and Mississippi, this is going to be a tight gradient. Any kind of movement east with this cold air boundary is going to put you from a cold rain to just a massive freezing rain event. And this is just diabolical freezing rain totals in Greenwood. 1 inch of freezing rain. Yazoo City, I mean, not much better. Vicksburg, 8/10 of an inch of freezing rain. Tupelo, they're going for 1.25 inches of freezing rain. This is ridiculous. I mean, this is an extreme ice storm in this area, guys. I mean, this is not good. And then you might, at the beginning of the system or sometime in the system behind it, get a little bit of sleet and snow, maybe sleet. But yeah, so you look at Arkansas, it's another big winter weather state. You guys have been crushed over the last several winters. The northern sections of the state, mainly snow and sleet. I think you'll get 1/2 foot to 1 foot of snow and sleet. Mainly snow the further north you get. Little Rock, 1 to 4 inches of snow and sleet. I think you'll get a burst of snow potentially tomorrow morning or late tonight. But this is Arkansas, but it's really the freezing rain when you combine all these nasty totals of freezing rain and sleet and snow. But look at the dramatic cutoff. Northern Arkansas not really going for any freezing rain. And Little Rock really not going for a lot of freezing rain either. But once you start to get into the southern areas of Arkansas, eastern areas of Arkansas, that's where you can get a quarter to a half an inch of freezing rain. Far south, southeastern areas of the state, that's where you can get upwards to 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain. And then you look at western Tennessee, 1 to 3 inches of snow and sleet in Memphis. I really think you can get a solid front end thumping here in northwest Tennessee. Dyersburg can get I wouldn't be surprised if Dyersburg gets a half a foot of snow and sleet. Jackson 1 to 4, and the freezing rain situation in this area is pretty brutal too. You know, look, you get into Parsons, Tennessee, 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain. And I mean, this is some nasty freezing rain here in western and west central Tennessee. So you move up into Missouri, this is all snow. No freezing rain expected here. Maybe some sleet in southern areas of Arkansas for sure. 7 to 11 in St. Louis. Columbia 5 to 9, Jefferson City 6 to 10, Springfield 9 to 13, and then you take a look at right here where Paducah, Missouri, and Illinois come together. Paducah 4 to 9, Mount Vernon 8 to 11, and here's many other areas. If I'm forgetting to mention, you know, there's Evansville 8 to 12. A little bit of freezing rain is possible up into this area, but nothing high impact, I don't think. And then this is Illinois 2 to 5 in Peoria, Chicago 2 to 5 inches of snow. But you really got to get into the southern areas of the state to start to see consistent half a foot totals. So, you know, the last thing I'll speak on is the temperatures to follow. This is Monday morning low temperatures. And yeah, I mean, well below zero once you start to get into the white area, single digits into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Same thing in Arkansas. And then we take a look at Tuesday morning and you know, the temperatures begin to moderate somewhat, but not a ton, guys. I mean, I think you're going to get 2 nights in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to the Little Rock to Shreveport with low temperatures in the single digits. I said this before, and it's the last thing I'll say about the central U.S. You guys have had such a warm winter in the central U.S., but then all of a sudden you can get stuff like this. I don't know if my regular viewers, you remember, you know, every time I get to the South Central U.S. of the last several weeks, I'm like, man, it's been quiet. There's nothing to mention. And then boom, you get this crazy winter storm. That's just how it is out west. It just can flip just like that. So, all right, let's talk about the eastern U.S. So this is watches, warnings, and advisories. And just want to look at this because there's been some changes, but winter storm warnings in the pink. Ice storm warnings in the purple, winter weather advisories in kind of this dull shade of purple here. And we continue to have some winter storm watches up here. Whether they're going to upgrade to advisories or ice storm warnings, winter storm warnings, remains to be seen. The big change here has been Atlanta to Columbia to Augusta. Well, Atlanta, Augusta to Columbia. Well, we've upgraded winter storm watches to ice storm warnings. So I was actually surprised. I have an ice storm warning here in my neck of the woods here in Columbia. That's where I live. Ice storm warnings cover up all of northwest South Carolina, southwest North Carolina, northwest South Carolina, southwest North Carolina. We got some ice storm warnings that do slip up into the Cumberland Plateau, areas of the Tennessee Valley, and winter weather advisories are just kind of in the Tennessee Valley here, and that is because of a warm nose of air that's going to move in. And then you move up the road a little bit. This is the rest of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. You got winter storm warnings up from Raleigh, Durham, all the way up to the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. So let's go over some model data here. This is the latest NAM. And, you know, we're just kind of starting to get into some of these short-range models, but they're not really changing a whole lot anymore. We're pretty much starting to lock in a scenario here. But I do, and I'll mention this as we go, I do think there could be some tricky situations that's not seen on some of these models. So this is Friday morning. The blue is snow. Any orange you see is sleet. Pink is freezing rain. So I'm telling you, tomorrow there might be some thunder snow or thunder sleet. You see this kind of front end thumping right here into Tennessee, into Alabama, into Kentucky. This is going to be some very heavy winter precipitation. So if it's snow, you're going to go from just cloudy skies to just pouring snow within 10 minutes in some of these areas. It could be sleet, but you can see tomorrow evening, Saturday evening, you're going to get some mixed winter weather breaking out across areas of the Carolinas, northern Georgia. It might start off as some just sprinkles of sleet pellets. a freezing drizzle, even a burst of snow. In fact, I think we're going to get a burst of snow in northwestern areas of North Carolina. And I really think we're going to start this off here in upstate South Carolina with a solid burst of sleet. Could get a quick inch or two of sleet in the western Carolinas. Could even start out as sleet as far south as Columbia late tomorrow night around this time. And we got this heavy banding of snow kind of blasting through areas of Kentucky. But look at the entire state of Tennessee at this point, around 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow night. This is all sleet or freezing rain at this point. All right, and we continue to move forward and we start to get into Sunday morning. Look at this cold air damming event. You're probably wondering, why is it raining all the way to Nashville, to Knoxville? But it's freezing rain into Atlanta, sleet into Greenville, Spartanburg, Charlotte. Well, that is because cold air is getting trapped east of the mountains and kind of anchoring in place, while low pressure is sort of nosing in a lot of warm air aloft and at the surface into Tennessee. There is a chance we switch to rain in like Nashville before switching back to winter weather. But look at this. I'm telling you, this moisture is going to be heavy. And I know you're seeing some dryness down here, but I really think that there'll actually be a lot of mist, freezing drizzle in place. And I don't think model guidance is going to nail that good at all. For example, you see how dry it looks down here near the Midlands? I really think there'll be more moisture in place than what's being indicated. And one thing I want to note is light freezing drizzle, light freezing rain, adds up a little bit faster than, say, heavy freezing rain because of the motion of the heavy rain. So keep that in mind. But, we start to get into Sunday afternoon, and this just turns into a huge, ugly winter storm for the Mid-Atlantic. Hopefully you can stay snow longer than what the NAM is indicating, but this is a nasty warm nose. I think that I have a hard time thinking that this low pressure is going to get all the way up into northern Alabama. I just do, but there's going to be a nasty axis of sleet and freezing rain setting up across these areas, and I really think this is going to be a huge area of snow from the Ohio Valley all the way into the northeast. And then we continue to go here, and I actually think we're going to get some thunderstorms for areas of southern Alabama, southern Georgia as a warm sector moves in. And I do want to watch for some back-end snow showers and northwest flow across the mountains as some very cold air begins to move in. You can see it tries to bring sleet all the way up to Boston. In fact, it almost tries to switch you to rain in New York City as we're getting into Sunday night and Monday. I don't buy that, but this is the latest HRRR model run. It only goes out 48 hours, but it really shows that front-end thumping of snow well. This is 3-4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Nashville right here, and I really think that this could be some heavy snow right out the gate. Just a heavy burst that could really just cover everything with snow tomorrow afternoon across Nashville, Middle Tennessee, and this will get all obviously further north into Kentucky, and then it has it switch into freezing rain pretty fast into Tennessee. And then we continue to move this forward, and you can see how freezing rain begins to overspread across central South Carolina, northern Georgia, and I really think that this could be more so sleet than freezing rain, where it shows the pink, which is freezing rain. But it shows extremely heavy snow moving into the DC corridor. There's that rain showing up for Tennessee in the green. And this is as far out as we can go. If we continue to move this forward, like look at the Euro, for example, we can back it up a little bit. I mean, we're pretty much locking model guidance in place. One thing that we've definitely done is we've kind of backed up. We've sort of backed up the timeline of this system. So it's starting later now, but this is a lot of freezing rain developing across northern Georgia. Central South Carolina points north, and then it tries to warm up Sunday afternoon with a low pressure. But I'm telling you, I don't know if this low pressure is going to do that, but we'll see. And then we continue to move forward here. So not a lot of changing with the global models anymore. All right, let's go over ice and snow. So just like I said in the central U.S., I'm going to really section out these areas big time and get up and close and personal, show you names. So obviously this is northern Alabama, sections of Tennessee. So if you live in Virginia or something, you're going to have to kind of move your tab over. I can't put a timestamp up for every state, guys. That would be just a ridiculous amount of timestamps. But this is northern Alabama, not really expecting much in the way of any accumulating snow and sleet. I mean, they're going for some pretty hefty ice totals for Florence. I don't know if it's going to be that much. I do want to watch out for some areas here in the mountainous regions of northeast Alabama, some compartment areas here, but We're going to get definitely some heavy icing totals in northwestern sections of the state of Alabama. But, you know, you look at northern Georgia, this is a big area. I'm going to update this, see if we have any new information. It did update the timeline. I don't know if anything changed, though, but we're going to just look at the point here. Atlanta, they're going for 0.3 of an inch of freezing rain now. That's why they up. When confidence is high for over 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain, that's when they're probably going to put you in an ice storm in this area of the country. But Gainesville, 0.4 of an inch or more of freezing rain. Jasper, over 1/2 an inch. There's going to be areas in northeast Tennessee, guys, it's going to get hit by a lot of freezing rain. I think it'll hang on to below freezing in areas of extreme northeast Georgia for the entirety of the event. Now, I do think there could be a little bit, kind of a skiff of sleet and snow, maybe in the northeastern areas of the states, but I wouldn't expect much. Now, this is for my neck of the woods. This is Columbia, and let's update this graphic, see if we have any new information here. And no, not really. They're going for 0.3 of an inch of freezing rain in Columbia. Camden, same thing. Edgefield. So anything over 1/4 of an inch, you start to have issues. You start to get 1/2 an inch, you start to get widespread power outages. You can still get it at 1/4 inch, but it really escalates once you get to that 1/2 inch mark. You know, Lancaster, you know, over 1/2 an inch of freezing rain. You get the Newberry, Winnsboro. You know, we're starting to get into big time ice storm type stuff, major ice storm type stuff. You know, maybe a dusting of sleet. I don't think this is going to be snow at all, guys. In fact, I think this is overdoing it. 1/2 an inch of sleet would be, honestly, that would be enough to make the ground slightly white. So we'll see if we can get some sleet right at the beginning of this system tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. And then this is let's update this. Let's see what it says. Gotta have an update here, don't we? We don't, but it's there's no new information. So this is still good. Upstate of South Carolina, Southwest North Carolina. Listen, this could be, this is going to be a major to potential extreme ice storm in this area. And it's going to get kind of wacky in the mountains of Southwest North Carolina because of some of the blocking of the higher range and the cold air damming, the cold air from the cold air damming not being able to kind of move into some of these areas. In fact, the higher up you are in some of these areas, the less freezing rain you'll get. But the Greenville-Spartanburg area is going to be a war zone, guys. Up to Charlotte, 1/2 an inch to 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain is forecasted, along with, I think at the beginning of this, you getting 1/2 an inch of maybe even snow, but I think this is mainly sleet. Hickory, Statesville, Lenoir, this could be a burst of snow right out the gate tomorrow evening, and then it switches to sleet. Now listen, in this area, there is an opportunity for you to be saved from this huge ice storm if you can stay sleet for the majority of the storm. And listen, I think that is a strong possibility. So that is the hope in this area. So if you're tuning in, you live in this region right here, if you start to get late into the morning, say, if you get into Sunday morning and it's like mid-late morning and you're still sleeting in this area, then you can go on and say that you're not going to get a really, really bad ice storm. How long can you stay sleet? That is the big deal here. If you're a night owl, you're staying up late tomorrow, and you notice that the sleet has switched to freezing rain as early as like midnight tomorrow, then you're going to get a really bad ice storm. So sleet to freezing rain. When is that transition going to be in this area? So just want to spend a little extra time on that. Middle Tennessee, going for a couple inches of snow and sleet in this area, but you're going to get it. I think you'll get a lot of this right in the beginning of the system tomorrow. I mean, you get a quick 2 to 4 inches of snow and sleet from Nashville points north, depending on how long you stay at that before switching. Freezing rain in this situation, Nashville going for 1/2 an inch. I mean, all out ice storm is possible in these areas. So there's just a very, very, very up close and personal look at Middle Tennessee. And then we look at Eastern Tennessee. It's a weird area. It's very wacky. You can see the Cumberland Plateau in this area, and then you can see the Tennessee Valley between the Smokies and the Cumberland Plateau. You guys are going to get a lot of warm air shoved into the valley, and it's going to save a lot of people from any kind of significant winter weather. But I want to watch this area also, especially the northern areas, the Tri-Cities region of Tennessee, for a front-end thumping of sleet and snow right at the beginning. But there's a real chance you can warm significantly in this area in the middle of this storm because of this warm nose that's going to sweep into this area. So how much snow could you expect? Well, I mean, a little bit. I mean, going for 1/2 an inch in Johnson City, Kingsport, maybe an inch of snow and sleet. So we'll see what happens with that. And then moving back over into North Carolina, could get a couple inches of snow and sleet. I really want to watch once you get closer to Roxborough, Greensboro, Greensboro, Winston-Salem area. Someone is going to get a nice burst of snow and sleet in this area. And it's going to be enough to make the ground white, and it's going to make you happy. You're going to think, man, it's going to snow the entire system, but it's not. It's not, I'm telling you. Don't get your hopes up, but do not be surprised. You get a burst of snow, even straight snow in this area, especially the closer you get to the Virginia, North Carolina border. And then this is the ice totals in this region. Definitely going for some high amounts here. Raleigh itself over 1/4 of an inch, but you know, the Greensboro area, over 1/2 an inch of freezing rain. Here's many other areas. Albemarle, over 6/10 of an inch of freezing rain is forecast. And then you move into eastern North Carolina. Not really expecting much of any snow or sleet in this area, but freezing rain, this is the totals. Goldsboro, you know, 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain is forecast. And then this is Virginia. Blacksburg, Roanoke, several inches of snow and sleet. I think a lot of sleet's going to mix in with this. The further you get northeast up into Virginia, maybe the less of sleet that you'll get, but I still think you're going to get a lot of sleet in this region. And then you look at ice. I mean, the ice totals look like they have actually increased up. So if you get several inches of snow and sleet, and then you switch to 1/4 to 1/2 an inch of freezing rain in this area, it's just going to be a mess in this region. And you're going to get a lot of precipitation in this area of the country. So in this area of the storm. So you're going to just get a lot of both things, a lot of snow and sleet and a lot of freezing rain. So areas of Virginia here, a few inches to several inches of snow and sleet. Richmond, 2 to 6 inches of snow and sleet here. Cambridge up here, 3 to 8 inches. Just trying to mention a couple of regions, but you know, Richmond, 2 to 6 inches of snow and sleet. And then you're going to get ice too. I mean, 2 to 6 inches of snow and sleet, and then Richmond, you're going to get 1/2 an inch of freezing rain. That is a major winter storm. I mean, it's going to be wild if this verifies. If it does, you guys in this area in Southeast Virginia are going to get crippled. This is not, that's a recipe for disaster. When you get several inches of snow and sleet, and then 1/2 an inch of freezing rain on top of it, you're going to just have a straight glacier, just an ice crusting on everything on the ground, just going to be wild. But the DC corridor, the mid-Atlantic, several inches of snow and sleet in this region. DC itself, 4 to 10. They look like they've kind of, you know, bumped down the totals a little bit. But you're going to get some freezing rain in this area too. Look at this little area in red. That's over 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain expected. Guys, if I'm going through this too fast, just pause the screen. You know, I can't mention every single town and name on the map here, but this is West Virginia. Sloppy storm for West Virginia. I think the southern area south of Charleston can get warm nose pretty bad. And so if you do see these totals like 5 to 8 inches in Charleston, I would just be careful, because you could get warm nose in this area, and that would significantly cut back on the totals in West Virginia. But I do think we'll get some freezing rain in this area too. In fact, Beckley going for over 4/10 of an inch of freezing rain. So notable ice storm that will be on top of the snow and ice and sleet that you get. And then this is Kentucky, good chunk of Kentucky. Probably left a little bit of Kentucky out here, but in fact, I think this is the one I meant to pull up. This is the forecast snow and sleet amounts for Kentucky. Louisville, 9 to 13. I mean, Lexington, 8 to 12. So a good bit is on the way. This is a major storm for Kentucky. And then we look at the ice totals. If you notice, I'm talking loud. I'm having to talk over my neighbor's dog barking. My neighbor watches my video, so he might actually hear me saying this. But I'm just having to talk over my dog, right? Well, their dog right now. So, but they are going for some very significant freezing rain totals in Kentucky, and they have increased at London 1/2 an inch to 3/4 of an inch of Kentucky. I always love how they do their graphics. They're always crisp looking. I wish every National Weather Service would, you know, have graphics like this. This is a nice, clean look for us to look at. But man, just Kentucky, I mean, 1/2 an inch to 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain, and then you get 3 to 7 inches of snow and sleet before that. Goodness gracious. Indiana, southern half of the state, several inches of snow. I think most of this will be snow. The southern areas of the state could mix with a little bit of sleet. But Indianapolis, 8 to 11 inches. This is Ohio. Southern areas of Ohio could certainly get some freezing rain. But once you get to kind of the middle sections of Ohio points north, several inches of snow, half a foot to a foot. Cleveland going for 8 to 12 inches of snow. And then we look at PA, big winter storm. This has really turned into a huge winter storm for the Northeast. But I'm just pretty much everywhere, anywhere from 8 to as much as 16 inches of snow. Some sleet could mix in, especially in the southern areas of the state. But this is mainly snow and sleet. I will look at the ice graphic here. And we could get, they're forecasting 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain in Philadelphia. We'll see if that verifies. And here's a closer look at New Jersey, Delaware, and, Middletown, 4 to 10 inches of snow, Philadelphia, 6 to 11. And we're going to get some freezing rain in this area too. Like I said, going through this too fast, just pause the screen. But this is freezing rain in this region. A lot, I wouldn't say a lot, but I'm saying a lot because when you combine several inches of snow and sleet and then you get a half an inch of freezing rain falling on top of this, it's going to cause a disaster on the roadways. And then we make our way into the New York City area, and because millions of people live in this region, I want to just take a zoomed in look. Right now, going for 8 to 12 inches in New York City. This will be your biggest winter storm of the season. So this is really trending into a huge winter storm for this area. And you could get a little bit of freezing rain in this area. A few 100ths of an inch of freezing rain is possible. And then we look at southern New England, Mass, Connecticut, Rhode Island. And this is a solid 1 to 1.5 feet snowfall across this region. And then this is the rest of New York and areas of Vermont, New Hampshire, Buffalo. It's crazy to have this big of a storm this widespread. This is going to be a big one. But pause the screen if you need to. And then this is Vermont, New Hampshire. This is going out to 7 p.m. Monday. Should pretty much clear the entirety of the storm. But this is going to be a pretty decent winter storm for you guys' standards up here, but a lot of snow on the way. And I will show you the rest of Maine too for you folks that are tuning in, any loyal fans up here in northern Maine. So temperatures to follow. Man, that's a mouthful, right? Going on 40 minutes long. I like to get detailed. But this is projected low temperatures for Tuesday night. Look at this pocket right where the snowpack will be of sub-0 degree low temperatures Tuesday morning. And we're going to get some single digits, folks, all the way down to northern Georgia, the upstate of South Carolina. Charlotte going for a low of 6 degrees. Whoever gets snow or sleet, a coating on the ground, will absolutely get into the single digits. And then you look at Wednesday morning. This is what your temperatures look. Still a very cold morning across the region. So what about the pattern coming up? Listen, I really don't even think we're close to done. It seems like in the past, once we gotten into February, especially for the South, it's like winter's over. We really haven't had a lot going on. But the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the 29th to the 2nd of February is calling for a high chance of below average temperatures. And I think we're going to have an Arctic outbreak potential here across the southeast mid-Atlantic and just the entire area in the bluish purple color. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Mitch, what about if it's going to be dry? Well, if you look at this, it does show a decent chance of below average precipitation. But I want you guys to look kind of right into this region and then right into Florida. I'm not saying Florida's going to get a snowstorm, but I do want to watch this entire area right into here for winter storm potential. And honestly, I would say this entire area right into here for winter storm potential. And I know that's pretty far south. You're like, dude, are you crazy? But I really think the cold press of air is really going to suppress the storm track. And we're going to run a winter storm risk, I think, for areas of the south once we get towards the end of January here in the next week or so. But to look at some of these models, guys, actually, this is temperature anomalies. You're going to see between this Saturday, and Tuesday of February the 3rd, well below average temperatures in that 10-day period. This is a 10-day ensemble temperature average. And the greens and then the purples and kind of that doled out shade of purple and white, that's anywhere from 5 to as much as 20 to 30 degrees below average. So we are going to be frozen for the rest of January. And it all starts with this winter storm that's ongoing right now into this weekend. A very, very cold pattern setting up. So are we getting any kind of these fantasy runs? This is the Euro from earlier this afternoon. And we'll start off most of these model runs with Friday, next Friday. So a week from today. watch here in south central U.S. We're going to get some winter weather breaking out across Texas. And then we begin to progress into Saturday morning. And look at this winter weather as far south as almost Houston. And you're thinking this is probably about to make the long track across the south, and it gets suppressed. But the moisture is still here. It's still down here. It just gets bogged down, and then it comes up and becomes a winter storm for areas, and this is 10 days out, for areas of southern Georgia, the coastal areas of South Carolina, and then it kind of goes away. But man, there is potential right here. And then we look at the GFS. Same thing, we start off Friday morning, winter weather breaking out in the southern plains. Okay, and here it is. This shows snow. I know this is not a very closed-in look at this, but it shows snow breaking out across the western deep south. Here it comes. Right, low pressure, favorable track. This is deep south snow next Saturday, and then it kind of fiddles out a little bit, and you kind of have this lakes low that kind of messes it up here, screws up our cold air source. But there is a deep low pressure, and it kind of comes up and becomes a winter weather event for areas of the southeast, and then it turns up and becomes a blizzard for areas of the mid-Atlantic into the northeast. And and then it shows something right behind it too. Shows more winter weather breaking out in Texas, and it kind of just fizzles out after that. But then you take a look at the Canadian model, and it's a beautiful run for my neck of the woods. You guys know I love snow. Look at this major winter storm breaking out across the southern plains, the deep south, and it turns up and becomes just a huge classic Atlanta to Columbia to Charlotte snowstorm. And then it's about to climb all the way up the eastern seaboard here. And then you look at the Euro AI model run, and let's look at the 18Z. I hadn't even looked at this one yet. And here it goes. There's more moisture right here across the deep south. There's cold air in place, and it's suppressed though. You see how it's just staying to the south? Low pressure right here, and it tries to climb up the coastline. So if you actually, and I know this just shows precipitation, if you look at the snowfall of this, look at that. Ooh-wee, look at that. So this moisture that you're seeing here, that is a snowstorm down there. Okay? The pattern is supportive for something wacky like this. I mean, it brings a swath of, it basically repeats what happens last year. Man, crazy look, guys. I'm telling you, there is something there. Something is there. I think by the time we're slowing, by the time we're able to take a breath from this winter storm about to move in now and really get into Monday, I think we're already going to be tracking something else. And I think it's going to be this. And then the GFS AI, same thing. This is a kind of a cold rain across the southeast, but there's definitely something there. So the pattern, when you look at the 500 millibar chart, and just to keep from, I don't want to get too nerdy, I don't want to nerd out with you guys too much, but this trough sweeps in, digs in, a lot of cold air digs in behind it, and then you're going to see the signal for the trailing wave behind it. This right here is lower pressure with cold air worked in place behind this trough that just moved in. So it's trying to tell us there's going to be some energy right here. It's going to be suppressed though because of the very, very aggressive cold high that'll come down. It's a classic pattern for a lot of cold air that dives down into place, and then for some energy to trail behind it and kind of go into that cold air. So, oof, that's a mouthful. That's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and we'll do it again tomorrow morning. Stay safe tonight in your southern plains. I know this system's already cranking up for y'all. Hope you guys are ready. Praying for you folks, and we'll do it again tomorrow morning.